You gotta give me one thing. I'm a scary judge of talent.
Adolphus Washington back-to-back plays.
The Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Triple Double Podcast. My name's Corey Albertson of Triple Double Prospects. 270 Hoops Jason Morrow is with us as our producer, and today our guest is Coach Billy Donlon. Coach, what's going on?
Corey, how you doing? Thank you for having me. Excited.
Thanks for coming on. On March 29th, Coach Donlon was named the new head men's basketball coach at the University of Missouri-Kansas City out of the Western Athletic Conference. Midwestern listeners should know Coach Donlon from his time as the head coach at Wright State, where he had 3 20-win seasons there. And since leaving Wright State, Coach Donlon has spent time as an assistant at Michigan and then the last 2 years at Northwestern. And then this opportunity came up for you, Coach, and you hopped right on it, huh?
Yeah, no question, Corey. It was just, between the location, the beautification of the campus. It's a smaller campus in the suburbs of Kansas City. And then, recruiting is arguably one of the biggest keys to any program. And as you know, Kansas City in this region, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Iowa, Arkansas is not far. Between the high schools, the summer programs, and the junior colleges, there's no reason why we can't be good and compete year in and year out for NCAA tournament trips and WAC championships.
Kansas City is a place where you don't necessarily hear the buzz of a bigger city like in Atlanta, DC, or Houston. But if you look on the circuit, there's a lot of success there. And there's a lot of players, high major, mid major, low major, anywhere, have come out of that area. And then, down to St. Louis, and like you said, Iowa, there's certainly a recruiting base there that maybe doesn't get as much love because you've got some states that have less of a population and less media coverage.
No doubt. I mean, that's right on the money. It's a very sports savvy town. Obviously, the Chiefs and their draw, and the Royals are sometimes they've had some success, but the fans are very passionate for their sports. And it's a basketball town. I think that's a big reason why there's usually a regional with the Sweet 16 was held this year. 2 years ago when I was at Michigan, we lost in the Sweet 16 here in Kansas City to Oregon. And I think a big reason why it's played at the Sprint Center very consistently is because of how sports into Kansas City is. And we have to, everybody wants to cheer for a winner, so we got to win. And that's our goal.
Well, talking about winning, you're an energetic guy, you're an intense guy, and I was doing some research to prepare for this conversation, and I saw something that you said in your press conference, and you said, I'm going to read it real quick. It said, "It reminds me of my experience at Wilmington and Wright State. Neither of those programs had a winning tradition that excites me, the opportunity to do something that hasn't been done. We're not only going to knock on the door, we're going to kick it in. There has to be a first time. Northwestern did it 2 years ago, meaning earning their first NCAA bid, and we were part of a Big Ten championship in Michigan. When people come and watch our players compete and play, they believe that we can make the NCAA tournament." So that's a bold statement. You're trying to infuse some energy in there, it sounds like.
Yeah, and certainly I don't think it's anything I don't think it's outrageous. I went to Wilmington, and they never won a championship when I was there as a player, and we won 2 regular season championships. Because we had belief and we dedicated ourselves, and we had great coaching. Jerry Wainwright and Brad Brunell. Coach Wainwright was the head coach, and Brad was the assistant. And then Wright State, as I said, for 20 years, they were a great Division II program. But for 20 years, I think they finished 3rd or better in their leagues 2 times. And then my 10 years, we did it 7. And, the knocking on the door, we lost in 3, and you know this, Corey, we lost in 3 championship games my last 4 years. And if you win any one of those games, you suddenly become a better coach. That 40 minutes is so important, and I'm proud of what I'm proud of what we accomplished there, and I don't see why we can't do it here. It's a quality school. It's a diverse school, and all the other reasons we already talked about. So yeah, it's bold because it hasn't been done, but it's not, I don't want it to come across as arrogant. I think our job is to tell people that these are our plans, these are our goals, and it's going to take a ton of hard work. There's no doubt about that. It's not like it's going to be easy. There's great coaches in this league, and this league is really on the upswing. Just 3 years ago, it was the 25th rated league in the country, and 3 years later, it's 14th. This year was actually rated ahead of the Missouri Valley and the Horizon League, which was surprising to me. So, I'm really excited about it, and really, the staff should all be done by next week. Can't wait to get those guys here and try to build a program.
The belief is something that's so important with places like UMKC, where you've got to get the current guys on the roster. Like you said, unfortunately, they haven't had a chance to win a lot of games, and they have to understand that, it's the expectation for you is to win games, and, you're not there just to say that you won, or that not that you won, that you played Division I basketball, but that you had an impact, and that you could play on the high level, and you guys are certainly, I'm sure, going to get that opportunity with bye games, playing big teams, and so how do you walk in and kind of get the guys on the roster to try and believe that whatever happened in the past, we not only want to win but expect to.
You have to start with your foundation of expectations and everything. In terms of academically, how much community service we do, which we will do a lot, and then just the their daily work, from the weight room to how we practice to the competitions that we provide, the competitiveness of the locker room. I mean, all that is in every day. To your question of how do you get them to believe, that's through your everyday routine, your everyday work ethic, and certainly, the first meeting I had with them last night, I told them that. If we work really hard, I've seen it done. In the first year, we can do some special things. And it takes a ton of work because there's other people who are very good trying to do the same thing. And I think just the commitment that you have to show them. And I don't just mean, Corey, on the basketball court, the commitment in terms of relationship building, spending time, learning about them and their families. All those things play a part to building a championship caliber culture and program. And, we'll work really hard to do that, as many other very good coaches and programs do in our profession.
Well, and the other thing, similar to what you were able to do at Wright State, and I think what you guys accomplished at Northwestern, as part of Coach Collins' staff, is you've got Dayton, you've got Chicago, now you've got Kansas City. Like you said, you've got basketball communities, and maybe the kids don't even understand, but somebody like you would, is if you guys can build a winner, the community is going to go nuts. I mean, they want something to root for.
Oh, there's no question. And to your point, our alumni base, and this is something else I experienced, like at Wright State, there's a ton of alums that live in kind of that Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati kind of triangle. And until we got pretty good, they rooted for like the Cincinnatis, the Xaviers, the Ohio States, and I get that. But once we started to get good, the Wright State alums started to follow and pick up interest. And here, 68% of the UMKC alums live in Kansas City. If we can establish a program, build a winning tradition, people are going to come. People are going to support. People are going to be excited. And I'm sure it's similar now that, some of the UMKC alums support Kansas or Kansas State or some other program. And, what we'll try to convey to them is you only get one alma mater. And, give us an opportunity to earn your fandom. And that's really the goal. And yeah, it's a lofty goal, and it's going to be a hard goal. we know it's not going to be easy, but that's really what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, absolutely. And speaking of not being easy, I mean, one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on this show, when I heard that you got another Division I job, and I was excited for that, is, you come from a situation where you really had to work to get to where you got to, and having the Wright State situation, I think there's a misnomer, I think, out there of people who aren't in the college coaching industry that, once you get your head coaching job, you either stay there forever, you move up, and, you had a career setback. You looked in the mirror, and instead of, feeling sorry for yourself, you went out there and, worked for Coach Bayline at Michigan for a year, worked with Coach Collins for 2 years at Northwestern. And, you really had to grind it to become a head coach again. And, that definitely speaks to, the energy you're talking about now with, what you're trying to do here.
Yeah, certainly I'm the son of a coach, and so I grew up in the profession, right? And I was really fortunate to get the opportunity. I'll always be grateful that I was given the opportunity to be the head coach at Wright State. It's significant to me. We live in college athletics right now, especially basketball and football. There's very little patience. There's very little margin for error, and I was really proud of what we did. The senior class that graduated that I recruited and coached as freshmen left as the all-time winningest class in the history of the program. And that doesn't mean that the current staff has done a really good job. They've done a really good job. And but I'm proud of what we did. I'm proud of what we accomplished. And, I did look in the mirror. I did look at some things. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me was what took place in Ohio. Because then I got to go work for John Beeline. I got to work for a guy who's a Hall of Fame coach, but he's even a more incredible person. His integrity is unmatched, and he's a brilliant, brilliant mind. I got to go work with somebody I grew up with who's also incredible in every way, in Coach Collins. And so it was a blessing. And on a personal level, I met my wife 2 months after I left Michigan in Chicago. And we just gave, I didn't do it. She just gave birth to, 22 days ago to our beautiful baby girl, Emily Ann. So, life is full of ups and downs. You just try to focus on the ups and grow from the downs. And that's all I did. And I just love to coach, whether it's as an assistant or a head coach. Any opportunity to coach is a precious one. And, I've been really fortunate the last 3 years, and now I'm really, really fortunate, with this opportunity here at UMKC.
Well, of course, you wanted to get back in there and, do another great job, building a program. At the same time, I think, you've got the positive mindset where you can look back and say, like, man, like how many guys would kill to be in my position to be able to work with Coach Beeline, to be able to coach in the Big Ten at, one of the Big Ten's most prestigious universities in terms of resources. And then, how many guys would kill to be able to work with somebody like Coach Collins, who learned from Coach Krzyzewski, and, be a part of what Northwestern did, which is, one of the big stories of the tournament last year.
Oh, there's no question. I was humbled by both opportunities. When Coach Beeline hired me, obviously the competition for that position, I was extremely grateful. And then certainly Coach Collins, same thing. Those are premier opportunities. They're great jobs. I feel like I did really good jobs, defensively at Michigan, laying that foundation. And then this year at Northwestern, we were the 19th ranked defense in the country, which has kind of been my responsibility at both places. I'm really proud of our accomplishments, and there's no doubt when you get the opportunity to work at Michigan and Northwestern, because they stand for everything that's right in college athletics, and their programs are led by two men that also stand for everything that's right in that college athletics. So it was remarkable, and I've been very lucky, Corey.
From a basketball perspective, I agree with what you said in terms of definitely two ethical guys, two guys who are known for having kids who aren't going to, cause problems off the court, who are going to be, disciplined on the basketball court. But you've got two very different personalities. Coach Beeline is kind of famous in coaching circles for being as relaxed as you could say, a high major head coach is quote unquote relaxed, and Coach Collins, that Duke thing is a very fiery guy. So, from a basketball perspective, I mean, what did you gain in working with those two?
Well, I think with Coach Beeline, I've always said, a lot of people are going to want him to get on the tours, and they should, about his offense, and they should. But his organization, his inspect of expectation, his daily work is just tremendous. It's incredible how he runs, whatever the Michigan men's basketball program is, at a $20 million a year program, whatever it is, how he runs that organization, that business is terrific. And that's not to say Coach Collins doesn't do a great job running Northwestern. What I really valued from Coach Collins, because they're different, the jobs are different, Corey, and you know that better than anybody. The Michigan job and the Northwestern job, they're different. Michigan has 100 years of basketball tradition, and Northwestern hasn't had success until, really till Coach Collins has now gotten there. And the thing that Coach Collins does is every day he's a rock with his belief that he's going to make Northwestern one of the best programs in the country. He's a rock. There's not 1 ounce of a hole or a flaw with how he feels and where he's going to get it to. And, when you take over a place like UMKC, that's the kind of mindset you have to have, and that's the kind of belief and spirit you have to have. And, that's something I certainly take from Chris. I think in terms of like the passion on the sideline, I always joke with Coach Bilon, I'd love to see what it was like 35 years ago when he was more our age on the sideline. He is incredibly even keel. He sees the game very, very well. As good as anybody's ever done it. But Coach Collins is younger, and just like you watch some of the older coaches now, and if you watch them 25 years ago when they were younger, you'd see a little bit more. And I think it's great, that passion and emotion that Coach Collins shows.
Well, it's definitely fun. And it's definitely, if you're talking about engaging the community, I mean, the community's more likely to be drawn to something like that. And it's something that you have to have, is you have to have that edge, because, you have to have your guys looking to you like, you're that lion that's going to, lead the herd and the pack. And, if you show any doubt as a coach, with Northwestern, if you guys are walking into play at Michigan State, at Michigan, at Indiana, and, the crowds are ridiculous, if there's any doubt on your end, the first people who are going to pick up on it are the kids on your team. And I'm sure that's what, Coach Collins, I mean, he's obviously naturally just fiery, but, that's part of the reason that he takes the approach that he does. And, that's something that you're going to have to do, I'm sure, at UMKC, when you guys play a bye game early, on the road in front of a big crowd at, a quote unquote, more established program.
No, there's no question. The pace of the leader is the most important thing. The pace of the leader. The leader sets the pace, and part of pace is the confidence that's given, the confidence that's drawn from the leader. And hopefully I can exude the confidence that Coach Collins gives to his players, and certainly Coach Bilon gives to his. So I hope that I've grown with that, from learning from those two men. And certainly I think our teams at Wright State played that way. So it is exciting. It is, you can certainly, the underdog role is one that a lot of guys take, that they use well, and we'll be underdogs in our league. New Mexico State's been the dominant team, and Grand Canyon and Utah Valley are kind of in the top three there. And so we'll have an underdog role and have our work cut out for us, but I know we can get there.
Right. And then the other thing I want to talk to you about is with taking on a new coaching job. One of the things that is usually the biggest hurdle for a coach is filling a roster your first year. And you're going to have, there's transfers. That's part of college basketball now. And, as somebody who's been a head coach before, you've got experience, recruiting for yourself. Now you're in a different program. What do you try and say? I mean, you're just getting started obviously here, but what do you say to a kid, about here's our goal for how we're going to build this? And how do you get, a kid who's not familiar with the program to believe that, this thing can turn around, and, if you can take a chance on us, we want to take a chance on you, and, we can work together to make this thing happen.
Oh, that's a great question, and I think that's where the experience at Wilmington and Wright State. So, it's never been done here at UMKC, but I've been places where it's never been done and done it. So you have that in your pocket, and you talk about that, and then the university sells itself, in terms of opportunities, academic success, a great city like Kansas City, and so the only thing we haven't done is win. And a lot of guys like that. There's a lot of guys that are trailblazers that want to be the first to do something, because that's who I was out of high school. That's why I picked Wilmington over some other schools that had greater tradition at the time. So there are guys, so you have to find those guys, because that mindset's important. when you're building a program that hasn't ever won before. And then certainly, Corey, you know this better than it's about relationship with me as the head coach. You know, the staff, they're going to be great, but I've got to do a really good job of building relationships with the coaches that I'm involved with from a recruiting standpoint, the families, and certainly the prospective student athlete or the recruit himself. And, you know, and like any relationship, that gets earned over time. You know, you have to prove that how much you want to coach them and have them be part of your family, because it's very much a family here, over time, over the long haul. So, you know, in terms of taking over a program and recruiting, I think a big thing now is whatever your roster is, however many scholarships you have, you know, stick to your core values in terms of how you recruit, and then don't panic. Because there's a lot of times where guys panic and they fill scholarships and they didn't do all their due diligence, and maybe that wasn't a good match. So I think you got to really stick to your core values in terms of what you try to do in recruiting, what map you follow, and then don't panic and trust your process. And I think, you know, hopefully I've learned from previous experiences on that.
The hardest thing to me definitely seems like the due diligence part. I mean, it would be easy for you to walk in and say, who is the best unsigned senior in Kansas City, who's the best unsigned senior in St. Louis, who's the best unsigned senior in Oklahoma City. Okay, we're going to offer all three of them. And, you know, maybe that kid's good enough, maybe they're not. But I think with unsigned seniors, once you get to April, and especially if you get to May, a lot of times you run into situations where they're unsigned for a reason. Sometimes it's because they're being a little too picky on where they want. They want something that's not going to come along. Sometimes it's academic. Sometimes it might be another off the court issue. Sometimes, you know, unfortunately, they're just not quite of the caliber of player that you need. So, you know, the balancing of unsigned seniors this late, especially when you look at somebody like you who's new to a job, it's difficult to be meticulous in that you're working against the clock in a very short amount of time. And you're also, as more and more guys come off the board and it gets later in the game, the kids all of a sudden get the leverage because there's 10 schools left that need a guard and there's only 5 or 6 guards that are maybe good enough. And now all of a sudden the kid's got a lot of options. So it becomes a very, very tricky game for recruiting.
It's very fluid. To your point, recruiting is, especially this late, it's very fluid. So that's where I think really sticking to your principles, that what the absolutes that you have to have from a young man that you recruit. And you may not be able to get that in all your due diligence, but when you visit him, I think when that young person visits your campus and you spend a couple days with him, it can definitely, you know, give you a much clearer picture, good or bad. And that's when, despite maybe the pressure that you want to sign a player, if those boxes don't get checked, you got to trust it. And if maybe to your point, maybe it's a guy you brought in and guys have said he's not quite your level, but you really like him and he checks all those boxes, you know, then you got to trust it. And it's not a science. I mean, look at all the transfers. I think, and you know this, I think with the rule changes in the summer and the spring, I don't know if I know it's not going to be beneficial. It's not going to be beneficial. And, you know, we'll be making changes again. It's going to really impact a lot of lives, both coaches, players, to the negative, because we're seeing guys less now, and we're not seeing them in as much of an organized situation as we need to.
And then talking about being fluid, it's gotten much, much more complicated, in my opinion, with the plethora of grad transfers. And I think grad transfers, I understand the merit for someone like you or any college coach. I understand the appeal of it. Believe me, I get it. But my whole thing is, you know, if you take 5 grad transfers, for example, and, you know, maybe you guys improve tremendously next year because you're going to bring in experienced kids, but what happens a year from now, you're still right back at square one. And you've got to look at this thing, obviously, from a, you know, short-term, long-term solution. You're not going to fix everything that's, you know, not been positive in the program in 1 year. It's just not realistic. Nobody's going to do that. So you're in a situation where you've got to weigh, you know, any guys that might have signed with the previous staff, current players, unsigned seniors, junior college kids, grad transfers, or sit-out traditional transfers. And, you know, it just gets more and more complicated. And the grad transfer thing is one of the most complex issues, I would think, for somebody who is taking over as a new head coach.
Yeah, there's no doubt, because you're basically, you're bringing in a hired gun when you bring in a grad transfer. And when you're first building a program, that's not always, when you're trying to create culture. It's tough. And once you kind of go down that fifth year, sometimes you go down that fifth year road, you can't get off of it. And that doesn't mean it's bad. Some guys have had a lot of success doing that. But I just think it's the best way to build, the best mid-major programs are the ones that develop guys over the course of 2, 3, and 4 years. I mean, you look at the best ones historically, obviously, a legend in coaching retired today, and Rick Byrd. Coach Byrd is incredible, and that's how he ran Belmont. And, and that's why they were so good. And so no question, it's tough to make those kinds of decisions with the fifth-year guys.
The fifth-year guys, absolutely, and I think Belmont's a great example. And not only are they taking guys that fit what they do, but a lot of times they redshirt the kid, and they get the kids to understand, what really fits them. And I think that's exactly what you said, and that is what the best mid-major programs do. And it's very hard to replicate on the high major level. Maybe you could argue somebody like Michigan would be one of the closest to being able to do that, but you see it a lot at the Division II level, where you'll see kind of a sign and it's like you kind of like, wow, that really didn't feel like that fit, but they redshirt the kid. Then 2 or 3 later, the kid turns into a player. And the thing there is, it's just hard in this culture in 2019, and especially in Division I college basketball, that people want results so quickly. And you want to win basketball games, but at the end of the day, your number one job is to build a program for student athletes at your school.
Yeah, there's no question. And every year, as you get closer to March Madness and to the tournament, all the things you're talking about gets magnified by about 1 million. And that's where sometimes decisions get made that may not have been justified. And that's what makes our profession currently, as somebody has said, coaching at this level, it's a great profession, but it's a very, very difficult business. And I think that's said very well.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Well, Coach, that is all the questions I have for you. I definitely want to thank you very much for coming on this podcast. And so I know how busy you are with the new job, but we're certainly going to be rooting for you. And, certainly with the energy and the enthusiasm you're bringing, I think it's going to be a positive thing for the basketball community out there. And we wish you the best of luck.
Corey, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure, and look forward to seeing you down the line and doing it again someday.
That sounds great, Coach. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Coach Billy Donlon, now the head coach at UMKC. And I am Corey Albertson for Jason Morrow. You guys listen to the Triple Double Podcast. Thank you. This podcast is brought to you by PlayEasy.com. For players, coaches, or casual athletes looking to book a sports facility, as well as owners and managers of sports facilities, PlayEasy.com is the new one-stop site for streamlined services. If you're looking for a place to practice, play, host your tournament, camp, or other, simply go to PlayEasy.com and create a booking request for your area. Your request will go out to surrounding facilities who will respond with their best offer. Once you receive the offer that best fits your needs, book the facility and you're ready to play. For facility owners and managers, PlayEasy puts the power in your hands to maximize the usage and visibility of your facility. Register your facility for free today at PlayEasy.com. PlayEasy.com is the booking site built by athletes, coaches, and facility managers, and is proud to help bring you the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is also brought to you by Anago Cleaning Systems. Are you tired of struggling in a dead-end job? If so, Anago Cleaning Systems has what you're looking for, an opportunity to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. With franchising opportunities available for as little as a $2,500 down payment, purchasing an Anago franchise has never been easier. Once you own your Anago franchise, you're licensed to clean commercial facilities all around the greater Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus areas with the support of Anago's sales, quality control, operational, and accounting staff. Call 513-332-0033 today for your opportunity to be your own boss and grow your own commercial cleaning company under the guidance of Anago's proven and successful system. Again, call 513-332-0033 to learn more. With Anago, your future starts today.